E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Ginwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. We are on day 3 of the ability and disability.
Oh, yeah. You know, Donna, I've really enjoyed the last couple of days and the people we've talked about, because it really is an eye-opening experience for all of us whenever we think about, geez, these people, they went through some tragedy in their life.
Absolutely.
And they didn't let it destroy them, or
they didn't let it define them.
Yeah. And they didn't accept it as, okay, I'm defeated now.
Right.
And think about people who get mentally defeated because of hard times or difficult situations.
Right.
I mean, these folks, they just picked it right up. I mean, I love the story about the little girl that was 17 years of age, and Joni had dove into the Chesapeake Bay there, and the water was pretty shallow. And I forget the damage she did to her neck there, but I think it was the third and fourth vertebrae.
Made her quadriplegic.
Yeah, made her a quadriplegic, sure did.
Right.
But she rose from the ashes on that. She really did. And, when you see people like that and the way they overcome stuff, it just kind of like, wow, it just really, really shocks you. It really does.
It does.
It definitely motivates you. I can tell you that,
Right. Right. Well, what is it they say? That which will not kill us makes us stronger.
Yeah. It's kind of like my mother says, what won't, we used to complain sometimes about the food. And she says, don't worry about it. If it don't kill you, it'll make you fatter.
Well, we've got some fun national days today, Jim.
Yes, we do. I'm going to let you take it right out of the gate, because I see these
absolutely
yellow eyes looking at me.
Right. So today is National Black Cat Appreciation Day. And I don't know why, but Glock, who usually is in the studio with me, has decided to go take a nap somewhere. So she's not in here. But she usually graces the stage at least once, shall we say.
Yeah.
But I currently have 2 black cats. And I absolutely adore them. They would be my 4th ones I've had. They are gorgeous. And,
oh, yeah.
People think that they're black cats. Some people think that they're really, bad.
Yeah,
but
they're evil.
They are actually so even-tempered. It's incredible. I mean, they hardly ever use their claws. They hardly ever use their teeth. And when they do, it's so light, you have to think, are you really using your claws or your teeth on me? So there's a little history on this. Let's see, it goes back to, I'm trying to find where it goes back to. Of course, the superstition that, black cats, horrible, witches, all of that. But, of course, not all of us see black cats that way. In fact, for some people, black cats mean good luck. And for others, it means prosperity or romance. In some cultures, black cats are even worshipped. Basically, there's no need to fear them. And it does not say, at least where I can see, where it began. I can't see where Black Cat Appreciation Day came.
Well, the way cats are, they show up on the scene and take over. So that's how it happened, probably.
Right. But they are amazing.
Oh yeah, I want to say something more about the black cats. I picked up one, and at the local animal shelter, it was a little kitten. And what got me was that it's just black satin type fur, and it just had
Yes.
this, yeah, had this type of, you know, presence, kind of like, even as a little kitten, it's kind of like, sure of itself.
Right.
And so I got it, and I knew nothing about it. I just thought a black cat was a black cat. But later on, that black satin fur, there's no white on it. But I found out that that was actually a Bombay.
Yes.
And they
Most
are,
black cats are Bombays.
yes, yes. And I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, it was like having a miniature Black Panther around the house because we live out in the country, let her out in the backyard, and you'd see her, and then you look in the front yard, you see her. She was like a ninja on patrol,
Right.
and we didn't have. I mean, she chased a squirrel up one tree, down that tree. The squirrel ran over to another tree, went up it, and it came down. It ran back to the original tree, first tree, and went up it, and then it jumped from the one limb over to the other limb on the next tree.
Nice.
And the cat looked like, now that's cheating.
Right.
That's not
Right.
fair.
Well, I had J-Man. I brought him with me from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And at his largest, and he was a big boy, he weighed around 20, 25 pounds.
Yeah, he was a big boy.
He was a big cat and just as sweet. And now this is interesting. The two Bombays I have now, when my husband gets out the little laser light, they go nuts for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when we had my three cats and my husband's cat, and he'd get out the laser light, and my cats would go crazy for it, right? All except for J-Man, the Bombay. He would look at it like, you got to be kidding me. You think I'm really going to chase that? Never could get him interested. And it was funny because he was just different. He really didn't like toys either.
Mm-hmm.
He was just content doing his thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing how, just as cats, each and every one has their own unique personality, their own little individual soul. That just goes to show you how unique and how wonderful the creator of this universe really is. And there's no limits. The only limits the creator has is in the canyons of our minds.
Right.
It really is. And today is also National Baby Boomers Day.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, we gotta talk a little bit about that one there. The era began for baby boomers is 1946 through 1964. So any baby born during that time, and I was born there in 48, and so naturally I'm a baby boomer.
I'm a baby boomer, the last year of them.
Oh, okay. We just we got you at the last moment. Is what it was. But the baby boomers, they're now we're getting up there, you might say. But to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, it's really interesting. I find it interesting how they do all these generations. I'm looking at a chart here, and they referred from 1883 to 1900 as being the lost generation. And I don't know how they came up with that. I really don't. Then the next generation was from 1901 to 1927. They were the greatest generation. They were the ones they earned that title, the greatest generation, because of their commitment and their sacrifice during World War II. And starting in 1928 to 1945, they're labeled as the silent generation. And of course, then from 46 through 64 is the baby boomers. Then 65 through 1980 is Generation X.
Mm-hmm.
And the millennials, they started in 1981 and they run through 1996. Then Generation Z, as in zebra, they kicked off in 1997. They went to 2012. And now we're in Generation Alpha, started in 2012, and it's going to be going through the mid-2020s. But it's amazing how they come up with these labels of generations and all that. I
Well,
never had really got into that. Go ahead.
well, and it's just interesting. I was reading here, Jim, that in the United States, baby boomers account for over 26% of the population.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we have great music.
Oh, yes, ma'am, we do. And we sing about love, and we use the B word, and when they use the B word in the songs, let me rephrase myself, when the singers and the songwriters would write the B word, it stood for babe or baby. And
Right?
that was the correct B word that we should have used, and we did use.
Right.
And I get a kick out of if I don't know if you've seen anything on YouTube of the young people who go back and they listen to music and older music and they kind of talk about it. And it just blows them away.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. This one lady says, "Wow, I was born in the wrong generation because it's nothing like the stuff we got today." You're absolutely right.
Right.
One of the favorite ones they like to do is the Righteous Brothers. The
Oh, there's so
Unchained
many.
Melody. And oh yeah, that's just one of them. And of course the You've Lost That Loving Feeling. I mean, there is just,
Hmm.
all kind of reactions to those songs and other songs too. I mean, and they're I got to be honest with you, they're very, very fair about it too. And I was listening to this one lady, she was a voice coach. And she was from someplace in Europe, I don't remember where, but anyway, she was talking about what was really amazing about some of the singer's voice. This was just plain old mic. There wasn't any synthesizers or anything like that. Nothing. I mean, this is just raw voice. It's just
Right.
amazing. So, anyway, that's our show for the day on music.
Well, today is also National Nonprofit Day.
Mm.
So, there are literally hundreds of thousands of
Oh,
nonprofits,
yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
what a incredible, incredible
Mhm.
part of our world that these
Mhm.
nonprofits are.
Yes, yes. Even here at our TV show, we have a nonprofit that we're very fond of, and that nonprofit is the Healing Acres Never Again. And this is by one of the ladies that's worked with us behind the scenes, and she's hosted a few shows with us, Charlene Fouts. Charlene has been, she's sick with COVID, and she's, you know, feeling kind of down, and, which is understandable. Charlene, if you're watching, we hope and pray you get better soon, and we miss you. But
Absolutely.
Healing Acres Never Again, my goodness, that came from her heart, didn't it, Donna?
It sure did. It came from her life.
Yes.
It came from her life story. And that's honestly, Jim, where most nonprofits start from.
Hmm. Yeah.
It touches each person in such a way they're like, I have to do something more. I
Yeah.
have to be bigger than what is right in front of me right now.
Yeah. I got to be bigger than me. I've got to give back.
Exactly.
That's what
Exactly.
that's what makes them giants.
So here she's gracing us.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Is it showtime?
Yeah, she just
but
woke up. So,
but if
the history of National Nonprofit Day was
mhm,
the Tariff Act was signed into law August 17th, 1894.
mhm,
So we think of it as being, fairly early, but gosh, before the turn of the century, right? And
mhm,
there's,
yeah,
lots of changes over the years, but excuse me, according to the National Center of Charitable Statistics, there are 1.5 million registered organizations in the United States alone.
mhm,
Wow. And,
mm,
all of them play a vital role in our community development one way or the other.
mm,
Just because we don't know about them, it doesn't mean that it doesn't, affect everybody out there. I
mm,
mean, it's all contributing.
yeah,
And so following the recession in 2012, the nonprofit sector contributed up to 887.3 billion,
good.
amounting to 5.4% of the nation's gross domestic product.
That's amazing.
Isn't that?
And this, the nonprofits that you see around, and the reason they were started, I mean, it comes from the same type of heart of the people that we're talking about here on the program this week, the ability and the disability,
Right.
because these folks saw the ability and the need to give back and to bless others.
Hmm.
And that leads us right into another great national today, and that is at your local thrift store, you know?
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of like a comedian. He says, if my kids ever give me a gift card from, Goodwill or some nonprofit like that, it's, I think I want some new kids. Go down and get you something, but don't buy anything new, Dad. You're kind of old. But really, it used to be people used to repurpose their clothes. And of course, growing up, having hand-me-downs was very, very common. And I'm talking about in the 1950s and 60s, it was very common.
Yes.
And but I did not realize that it was back in 1897 that the Salvation Army,
Hmm.
they actually launched the Salvage Brigade. And residents would go around the neighborhood and they'd ask for used clothes. And in return, they would receive food and lodging. And in Boston in 1902, a Methodist minister created Goodwill that hired poor and disabled people to collect goods and make
Right.
necessary repairs to them. And these shops provided immigrants with a place to find clothes, assimilating the Christian values with social services activity. And that is one of the wonderful things that we should do every single day of our life is, be able to share what we have with others with
Hmm.
a open mind, open heart, and a pleasing personality. Because that is the only way to live a successful life on planet Earth. It
It
really
is.
is.
It is. And, both of those organizations that you just mentioned
Mhm.
have grown
Oh yeah.
substantially. And I don't mean by donations, of course,
Mm.
there's that, but I mean by the services that they provide.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So they have literally grown with time.
Hmm.
There is every kind of outreach, every kind of help for people learning how to get a job, helping them with dress, helping them have a place to stay. A
Mm.
lot of them have outreach centers for people who are in crisis and maybe need some help if they have an addiction. I mean, the
Mhm.
list just goes on and on. So,
Mhm.
bless them and thank you for what you do.
Yes, yes. It's also a wonderful opportunity for people to get blessed in their hour of need. And because a lot of people, and now I would fall in this category if I was in that situation. If I really needed handouts, I would be too embarrassed to ask.
Right.
But they have places where they can go to and they can get, clothing and
Food,
food and different things of this nature
shelter,
too. Yeah,
even shelter. Yeah.
yes, ma'am. And in the process, it doesn't destroy their dignity
Right.
and their honor. That's the big thing that, a lot of people feel guilty about is that
Right.
I've forfeited my dignity. And that is something these shelters or these organizations work very well. And no one is frowned upon, no one's talked about. And
They're
it's a
not talked
wonderful thing.
down to.
Right. Exactly.
They are there
Exactly.
to help lift them up, and they do it in such
Oh, yeah.
a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Because you know what? At the end of the day, Jim,
Mhm.
nobody gets anywhere in this world without help,
Oh, yeah. You know it.
right? And
Yeah.
so that's what that's all about. And
Mhm.
so, I just think it's amazing all the
Mhm.
services
Yeah.
that these organizations,
Yeah.
nonprofits provide throughout not only the
Yeah.
United States but throughout the world.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to give back to your fellow man. And I've actually went shopping in Goodwill stores.
I adore any
I do.
I
Oh,
adore
yeah.
any thrift store, any
Yeah.
antique store.
Oh,
And
gosh, yes.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
I just have a ball in there looking around and finding stuff. Or if nothing else, it takes me on a trip down
Yeah.
memory lane,
There
right?
you go. Yeah, because you see things in there, that used to have. And actually, to be honest with you, we go to thrift stores and antique stores, and we see things that we still use in our house.
Oh yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and our kids laugh about it. Of course, they're older now, but I say, hey, don't laugh at your family heirlooms.
Right, that's what you're getting in the will, baby. And
That's right. At the time,
whichever one of you laughs the loudest, that's yours
yeah.
first.
And the joke between Lisa and James, Lisa called up James, hey, you see this here? I put my name on it, and they just go back and forth like that, all in good humor and good fun.
I love
But
it.
yeah, we are so blessed to have organizations like
Hmm.
this.
We are. We
And
are.
they came from the heart.
Hmm.
And just like these folks, let's talk about a couple of these here. I
Yeah.
mentioned the young lady earlier today, Johnny, she goes by Joni Erickson Tata. She was this 17-year-old I talked about that
Yeah.
dove into the Chesapeake Bay, and I was looking here and trying to find out. It crushed part of her spinal cord.
Right.
Oh, bless her heart. That was a horrible thing.
Well,
And you told a funny story yesterday about Christopher Reeve, not about his accident, but I want you to share that again with the folks because this is funny.
oh my goodness. So I read his book, Christopher Reeve's book that he
Still
wrote,
me?
"Still Me," after he was in the accident from the riding the horses,
Hmm.
and it was so dynamic and so powerfully written. And you were there in that moment, right? You were
Mm.
there with him. And he was talking about how in the early stages of when uh, he, became paralyzed, that they would have him in the bed, and um, they would have him at times where his head would be down toward the floor, and then other times they'd flip it so he'd be staring at the ceiling. And of
Hmm.
course, being a quadriplegic, that's all you can do is use your
Hmm.
eyes. You can't turn your head or anything.
Wow.
So he was in the bed, and it was the day where he was looking down at the floor, and he was feeling pretty. Quite frankly, he was feeling pretty pissy. Right? He was kind of
Hmm.
a little bit irritated with the whole world. And in
Yeah.
comes this Russian doctor, and he's talking a mile a minute, and all of a sudden, Christopher Reeves hears, "Well, my name is Doctor So and So, and I'm here for your proctology exam." And Christopher Reeves said, "I think you have the wrong room." "No, no, no. This is where I'm supposed to be. I'm here for your proctology exam." And so the guy's just egging him on, and Christopher Reeves is getting really, really PO'd, right? And he's like, "I don't know what the hell you think you're doing, buddy, but I just got in an accident, and I'm a or quadriplegic, and I don't know why that you want to give me a rectal exam." And so, I mean, he was really getting steamed up, and pretty quick right after that, the doctor stops talking, bends his head down to where he could look Christopher Reeves under the bed eye to eye, and he started laughing, and it was Robin Williams.
It's
So
buddy.
they had gone to Juilliard together and had roommated and became best friends. So, and Robin Williams was notorious for doing
Oh.
that with his friends. I mean, he'd
Oh
do it
yeah.
to strangers. You know, he
Mhm.
he was a very social man. And
He had a
so wonderful sense of humor.
oh goodness, off the chart sense of humor, and I could just see Christopher Reeve. I just picture him and Robin Williams looking down at that goofy face when he smiled.
Hmm.
Because the smile on his face could crack you up.
Oh,
He was a
absolutely.
tremendous comedian, wonderful
So,
guy.
before we go into talking about some of these wonderful people that we've got
Mhm.
lined up, famous people and people that we may not have heard of,
Uh-huh.
I came across something yesterday
Mhm.
when I was actually on Facebook, and I'd like to read it because it's so
Sure.
appropriate
Yeah.
for this show.
Yeah. Please share it with us.
It is in our choices that show what we are true. Pardon me, let me do it again. It is in our choices that show we are truly what we truly are, far more than our abilities.
Mm.
It is in our choices that show what we truly are, far
That's the
more than
truth.
our abilities. The choice you make determines where you go,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
determines how you see your life,
And that's the truth.
right? I just thought that was really, really
Hmm.
awesome
Yeah.
and very apropos for what we're talking about for this week.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's really incredible. And one of the things that I like about what we talk about here on the show and all the different themes and everything that we have, everything fits together perfectly. Whether we're talking about Bill Heinrich's The Seven Levels of Truth, his book, or if we're talking about the YouTube video, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, or if we're talking about Think and Grow Rich, or any of those wonderful books, they're all saying the same thing. And it's just amazing to me. So, if that many people are writing about truth and that many people are sharing from the heart
Right,
what they've learned in life, we all need to listen to them.
right.
And all of us need a brush up on stuff. We really do.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
what's amazing too is the fact that when you think about these people who were there, there's one lady I just got to mention because this touched my heart, and her name is Frida, Frida. I guess that's Kahlo, Kahlo, and her most famous comment is feet. What do I need you for when I have wings to fly? That's one of her most famous quotes that's attributed
Beautiful.
to this lady. Yes, ma'am. And her career as an artist proved that she surely did not allow her talent, or she allowed her talent to soar, I should say. She was born in Mexico in 1907, and as a child, she suffered from polio, and this damaged her right leg and foot. But when she was 17 years of age, she was in a traffic accident that left her with severe injuries to her hips, spine, and she was 100% dependent on a wheelchair. But following her accident, she began painting mostly self portraits. Many of her works they mix realism and fantasy and explore things such as identity, gender, class, race. She was very talented. Her work has been studied by many art students around the world. And she was, listen to this, folks, she was the very first Mexican artist to have her work displayed in Paris at the Louvre Museum. And
Wow.
some of her most well known self portraits shows herself in her own wheelchair. And when you think about someone like that, she was stricken with polio at a young age, and at age 17, she's in an automobile accident, and now her life is, really changed.
Right.
She's limited to a wheelchair, but at least she could still move her arms, and she started painting. And I love her statement: "Feet, what I need you for when I have wings that I can
That's
fly."
that is just beautiful.
Yeah,
That is beautiful.
mhm, absolutely.
Good
It
for
just
her.
really, yeah, you better believe it. And when you think about someone like that, and let's all take a look at the inner self of our own self, kind of like inventory of ourselves. How many times have we procrastinated or been lazy or grumbled and complained about some little bitty nothing?
Oh,
We're
too
all
many
guilty of it.
times.
Yeah, we're all guilty of it. I mean, when you see someone like that and these other folks, what
Right.
they've done to rise above the ashes, to rise above the disability was just part of their life. It did not define them.
Right.
And
Kind of makes
it
us
just
eat humble pie.
yeah, yeah. Thank God humble pie is not fattening because if it was, I'd be bigger than a barrel.
Right.
Mhm.
So I love this story. And
Okay.
this is about Rick Hoyt, born 1962. Rick Hoyt.
Mhm.
So he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
Mhm.
So, I remember when I first saw him and reading here, but it was also on Oprah show.
Mhm.
Um, but his father, Dick, the love that he had
Mhm.
and the dedication that this father had for his son was absolutely spellbinding. At birth, he was diagnosed with severe cerebral palsy, and the doctors were very, very blunt. They said, forget about Rick, put him away, put him in an institution. He's going to be a vegetable for the rest of his life.
Mhm.
Institutionalizing their child was, however, never an option for his parents, and they decided to raise Rick just like his two brothers.
Mhm.
At the age 11, Rick was fitted with a computer that enabled him to communicate. With this communication device, Rick was also able to attend public schools for the first time. He went on to graduate from Boston University in 1993 with a degree in special education and later
Mhm.
worked at Boston College in a computer lab, helping to develop systems to aid in communication and other tasks for people with disabilities.
Mhm.
Team Hoyt was formed in 1997 after Rick asked his father, Dick, if they could run a race together to benefit a lacrosse player at his school who had become paralyzed.
Mhm.
Since that first time in 1997, they competed in over 1,000 endurance events, including marathons, triathlons, Ironman competitions, with Dick pushing his son in a custom made running chair.
Mhm.
They did the Boston Marathon 32 times. And in 1992, Team Hoyt biked and ran across the United States, completing a full 3,735 miles in 45 days.
Whoa.
This astonishing feat of love and courage was sparked after Rick told his father after their first event, Dad, when I'm running, it feels like I'm not handicapped. Running
Mm.
together became a way to send a message to the world that everybody should be included in everyday life. This is the power of a parent's love.
Holy enchiladas. I just had to grab my little calculator, ladies and gentlemen. 3,007, did you say 3,735 miles in 45 days? Was that the
Correct.
number? If I did that right, and let me redo it again, I want to make sure I put it in right. So 3,735 miles, divide that by 45 days. That's averaging 83 miles a day.
Mhm.
That'd take you about an hour and a half in a car on cruise control at regular speed. I mean,
Right.
my goodness.
You know,
Holy smokes.
their story was phenomenal. And
Mm,
his Rick died,
mm,
and his father, they were entered to run the Boston Marathon.
mm.
And he ran that last one by himself. And he said, I'm done.
Wow.
He said, I got to tell you, there's no joy in doing any of these things without Rick here.
Yeah.
And so
I
that was the
rem.
last
Go
one
ahead.
he ran.
Mm. I remember that. I remember that story now as you got into sharing it. I remember it very much.
Yeah,
And oh my goodness, that's so touching because of father and son team, they just embraced everything.
right.
And when it comes to getting inspiration for something from something like that, who would have think or thought that they could travel about 83 miles a day going across country? Wow.
Well, the one thing that was so beautiful to me about it was that even though he had, um, such a debilitating disease,
Hmm.
that neither one of them let it stand in their way. And so
No,
when they
no,
did
no.
the Iron Man, he was in the ocean with his dad. He was in there with him. It
Mm.
cerebral palsy was was like, okay, it is what it is. And
Mm.
I don't know a lot about the disease, but I do know enough to know that there are a lot of special circumstances that you have to care for that person, right?
Mhm.
And special things that have to be done. And so the fact that they did these in spite of all of that is just miraculous,
Mm.
that they never let it stop them.
Mhm.
And it made them bond even closer.
Mm. It really is. And I'm just looking at this list here, ladies and gentlemen, and you know, it just blows me away how these people can do so much. This one gentleman here, Robert Hensel, he was born in 1969. His diagnosis was spina bifida.
Hmm.
And as an international poet and writer, Robert Hensel has never let his disability come into the way of clouding his artistic mind. This is a quote from the man, and I'm going to share this with you. There were many times that my schoolmates would laugh at me and call me names simply because of their lack of understanding of why I was a little different. Now, he was awarded the title of one of the best poets of the 20th century with over 900 publications worldwide, and he still detains the world record at the Guinness and Ripley's for the longest nonstop wheelie, doing a wheel stand, two front tires off the ground, a wheelie in a wheelchair covering a distance of 6.178 miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's a leading figure within the disability community, advocating for the right and treatment of all individuals living with disabilities across the world.
Right.
And, think about that. I mean, doing a wheelie in a wheelchair, that's something that teenagers would do, but he did it for over 6 miles.
Right.
And
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. I mean, oh my goodness. That takes a lot of balance, focus, concentration, and also
Strength
commitment. Yeah.
and strength.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
That
mean,
is awesome.
yeah. He might have just been, that might have been one of the things he just did for fun. Let me show you a wheelie or whatever, because
Right.
he definitely perfected that art if he did that for over 6 miles. You know,
Absolutely.
goodness.
So here's
Donna.
another story about Mary Temple Grandin. And
Hmm.
she was born in 1947, and she was diagnosed with being autistic.
Hmm.
So very interesting. She's not only an American professor at animal science at Colorado State University, she is also a best-selling author, autism activist, and consultant to the livestock industry on animal behavior. In 2010, she was named by Time 100 as one of the 100 most influential people in the world, and is the subject of the award-winning film Temple Grandin.
Hmm.
She also invented the the hug box, a
Hmm.
device designed to calm those
Oh, yeah.
on the autistic spectrum.
Hmm.
And I love her message. This is just beautiful.
Hmm.
This is her message to the world. The world needs different kinds of minds to work together. See the person, the label. Autism is part of who I am.
Hmm.
I am different, but not less.
Mm.
That's
Amen.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is. We're all different, but we're not less,
Right.
because we're all different in every way. We really are.
And when we treat somebody as being less than,
Oh, yeah, that's total ignorance.
it's not a reflection on them. It's a reflection on the person who is treating them that way,
Amen. It's
right?
a reflection of their ignorance, their lack of respect,
But their lack of their own knowledge
self-esteem.
and
Yeah, you got low
self-esteem and
self-esteem. Yeah,
comfort in who they are.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And I'm going to share a little story here about another gentleman here. It's a great story. His name is Ralph Braun. He was born in 1940 and he passed away in 2013. He was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. Now he was the late founder of the CEO of the Braun Corporation, Braun Corporation, and which is today one of the leading manufacturers of wheelchairs and accessible vehicles. At the age of 6, he was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, and doctors told his parents that he would never be an independent. He would never be able to live on his own. Ralph and his parents were, however, determined to prove them wrong. In the next few years, he lost the ability to walk, and he sent his mind to engineering the first battery-powered scooter. During his teen years, he created various motorized vehicles to help him get around, and in 1991, he had created the first wheelchair accessible minivan. And he's named the champion of change by President Barack Obama. His personal drive to keep an independent involved in the Braun ability. I like that, Braun ability, Braun ability. The leading manufacturer of mobile products across the world. He passed away at the age of 73, but not before he made a serious impact helping launch the mobility movement. And, it's just amazing how people like him can rise above the ashes because he actually invented the first tri-wheeler. The scooter had 3 wheels, 2 in the back and 1 in the front.
Right.
And this enabled him to get around. And he equipped an old Jeep with hand controls and a hydraulic tailgate. This way he could load his tri-wheeler into the vehicle,
Nice.
get into the vehicle and drive, and he didn't need anybody's assistance. So much for the doctor says he would never be independent. Little what shows what they know.
And that's just it. I honestly believe that when many times, not all the time, but many, many times, when we have a child or we are born with something or something happens to us, how we are treated within that box is the outcome, right? So for me, it's like if you treat it like, oh, you can't do that because of this, you can't do that because of that. I've heard that a lot in my life, my own self personally, with the autoimmune diseases I have, and I'm like, look, when I need help, I'll ask for it. Until then, leave me alone. End of the story. Because then if you do it twice, then I'm going to get a little cranky. But,
she will explain it to you in very simple English. And if you're a little slow in between the ears, you just may get a little thump therapy from the heart.
But that's the beautiful thing about everybody we're talking about, is that nobody let it stop them, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I love and appreciate and admire and respect so much is look what all these people have given the world.
Oh, yeah.
Look what they have given us.
I've heard a lot of people say, and Les Brown gets this credit. He is known for saying it probably more than anybody else, and that statement is, the richest place on planet Earth is the graveyard.
Right.
And I know Donna knows the rest of that, because what's all buried there, Donna? Not just bodies, but what else is buried?
And dreams.
Oh, yeah. The inventions that were never created.
Yep. Hopes and dreams. I can sit here and tell you that my mother was, she was an amazing woman, but she had 2 things that she did that she basically started before somebody else got the patent on it. We had schnauzers. My mom and dad loved schnauzers. And they weren't spade. So when they would go into heat, can kind of create a little mess. And so my mom got her sewing machine out, took the dog circumference, got out the Velcro, and made her the in heat diaper.
Mm.
Well, now those are sold in the store,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the other thing is, I remember and they weren't around when I had my first baby, at least I don't think so. So if I'm wrong, forgive me. But you take your baby and they're too big to be in the carrier. And so you put them in the cart and you take your blanket and you put all around the grocery cart and you stick the kids in so they're not all germy from all the, crap going around.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom looked at me and said, it'd be so easy to invent and make a little cart cover for the babies to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
Cart covers are a thing now. And I'm thinking, holy cow. So it's just, and my point is this, folks, it is just that simple. Something that you just do because it helps you, right? And you just do it, it helps you. It can help the world. So explore it. Mm-hmm. Explore it, because look what all these incredible people have done.
Oh, yes. Think of the hearts that they've touched and the lives that they've changed, because in the graveyard there, the richest place, there's all the hopes and dreams. There's all the inventions that were never invented.
Right.
There's also all the books that were never written.
Right.
Because you think about, I know there is something in your life that you are a subject matter expert on. I don't care if you don't have a high school education. So what? I don't care if you got a college degree. So what? You've got something that down the pathway of life called experience. And that is something that you cannot fake. And when you write from the heart for the benefit of others, whatever your topic is, whether it's, easy to do things. I mean, who is it? Who was that lady? Heloise Hints or something like that. She gave all these helpful hints about how to do things around the house back in the 80s. Kind of remember that, Donna?
I do.
And some of the things she came up with was kind of like, wow, that's really simple. No, and the average person wouldn't think of it. There are things in your life that you could write about. At least keep a document somewhere, or a book or something, write it down. And, because you got so much wisdom and knowledge down the pathway of life. Everybody has that experience. Go ahead, please.
Well, do it to pass on, if nothing else, to your children.
Oh, yeah. Especially family history. That's a big one.
I still use poultices, old-fashioned poultices.
Yeah.
And I use those before I go to the medicine cabinet.
Mm.
And I always have. And it's funny because I grew up with those. So I still use them.
And share with the folks, if you don't mind, I think we got a little time here. When we talk about a poultice, what are some of when you prepare yours, what do you put in there?
Well, it depends on what it is. But one of the things, I was really prone for so many years, I can't even tell you, of getting horrible bronchitis. And it was just like the never ending bronchitis. And it wouldn't go away. And then I would get pneumonia, and I would get, walking pneumonia, regular pneumonia. And after about the fourth time, my mom said, well, that's it. We're making a mustard poultice for you. So a mustard poultice you can buy it in the grocery, is ground mustard. Now you have to be careful. Yeah, you have to be careful with this. So you take about maybe a teaspoon of ground mustard. It's pretty potent stuff, folks. And use a good healthy tablespoon and a half of flour, and mix it up. And then you put just enough water in it to make a paste. And you need to use a spatula. And so you put it on an old rag, because it will stain. And you smursh it out on an old rag. And when you place it on a chest, you do not place it mustard side down. You place it with the cloth between you and your chest. And what it does is it helps open up all the capillaries in your lungs.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, I started doing that instead of going to the doctor when I
Or
could first
getting
feel it come on.
over the counter drugs or something. Yeah.
Yep. And it works so well, so
Mhm.
well. So, there's lots of ones,
Yeah.
but you can look them up too. You can Google
Oh, yeah.
old fashioned poultices.
Yeah.
Another one I use is hot milk and bread. If you've got like a spider bite or a splinter that you can't get out, and you
Mhm.
put it, I don't know what it is about the combination of that, but man, my mama used that on me all the time when I was little, and I used it on my
Hmm.
kids. Works like a charm.
Did your mom have a formula on the plaster there for help you get better looking or young looking or
No, otherwise
I
she would
was
have passed
asking
it.
a sincere question,
Well,
and
she
I
would have
mean,
passed it on to me otherwise.
yep, yep, yep. Okay, I can take a hint. Yeah, but that's interesting. I thought for sure when you were talking about putting that on your chest, it would be mustard side down, but it
No, it'll
isn't.
it'll blister you.
Oh, I bet it would.
It'll
Yeah,
blister you if you put it mustard side down.
yeah.
So you
You'll
got to
burn
be,
it out. You'll
yeah,
burn that bronchitis out.
you bubble your skin. It can be pretty
Yeah,
bad. So
yeah.
if you're doing it on a thin rag, an old
Mm.
towel, make sure you put a heavier one underneath it because it's that strong.
Wow. It's really amazing because a lot of the old-fashioned remedies that moms and
Organic,
grandmothers had,
the
yeah,
organic,
they
yeah,
were organic. Yes, they
yes,
were. Yeah. And I remember one time, I don't remember exactly what I had. I mean, I remember what I had. I had bronchitis, but uh, this lady, we went over to see her, and she was an older lady, and she says, she asked my mother, says, "Can I give him something for that hacking cough?" Mom said, "Well, yeah, sure." I don't know what it was, but I'm telling you this, it worked. That stuff, it tastes a little bit like Karo syrup, a cross between Karo syrup and kerosene. And I'm not making this up. It was very like that, for the kids to make a, and that stuff, it
that taste,
slid down slowly and it
right?
burned the whole way. It was hot. But you know what? That bronchitis says, "Hey, we're out of here, buddy. Let's go."
We're gone.
Yeah,
We're
we're
gone.
gone. We, we got it. We may be bronchitis, but we got our pride.
Right.
But yeah, some of those old remedies, we were to make a week show on something like that.
That'd be fun.
Hometown remedies. Yeah, it would be. Yeah. And if you folks know of any remedies or anything like that you'd like to share with us, get in touch with us at the TV station
Right.
here, Inspiration E360 TV. And our staff will get it and they'll get it to us, and because we'd love to hear from you, we really would.
Absolutely.
Donna, this
Absolutely.
our time is already gone,
It is. It
and
is. But this has been a wonderful, wonderful show.
yes, ma'am. Now, what made it such a wonderful show? Donna was here.
Hmm. Now,
I
what made it what a
I
wonderful
voted
show?
on that, and I was unanimous in that vote.
No, I'm going to override that one, Jim. What made the show so wonderful is that we get to be here and share it with
Yes,
everybody out there.
we get to share wonderful, inspiring stories to remind all of us that we're not alone in this world.
And
We've
don't
got
need to be alone.
no, no. And your family may not be blood relatives to you. Your
Right.
family may be like Donna and I, we consider ourselves like brother and sister. We're actually brother and sister by different mothers. That's about the
Right.
way we look at it. And, you know, you're not alone. And there's people out there that are willing to help you, regardless what you're going through, regardless what you're experiencing. And everything that makes life worth living is anchored in love.
Right.
And if you learn how to love yourself, you got to love yourself first before you can do anything else. If you want to be happy in life, love yourself first. That's a prerequisite.
And please give yourself grace.
Yes, forgive yourself. Yeah.
Give yourself grace. We so
Yeah.
easily give other people grace,
Mhm.
but the person that we need to give grace to the most
Mhm.
is when you're looking in the mirror, the person
Yes,
looking
ma'am.
back at you.
Yeah, we seem to be hard on ourselves, and we really shouldn't because
Right.
we just accept the fact that we're imperfect people. We're going to make mistakes.
Yep.
We're going to say and do things that we shouldn't
Life
say or
happens.
do. Yeah,
Life happens, guys.
yeah, and but most importantly, forgive yourself. And for anyone in your life that's
Wronged you.
been mean to you or harmed you in any way, love yourself enough to forgive them and let them go.
Hmm.
Let them go because as long as you don't forgive them, you're hanging on to them. And their negative energy is just going to drag you down. You're better than that.
Absolutely.
You owe that to yourself, please. And Donna, our time is gone. So,
It is.
ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking some more, sharing some more inspirational stories about people that have the ability, they find the ability in their disability.
Absolutely.
Man, Donna, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, Jim.
My
Folks, thank
pleasure.
you so much. We'll
You
see you
bet.
all tomorrow.
Bye bye.
Bye
Thank you
bye.
for tuning in. We'll see you. Bye.